all kind of lesions, intellectual also lesions and disabilities. But at this time, I'm just working directly with the federation to try to have more and more athletes working on the para canoe all over the country on each club from north to south of the country. But specifically, I'm working with these two athletes, 2 to 4 athletes, just two at this time, that are preparing themselves to be on the Tokyo Paralympics. So, just a quick message about working with persons with disability on sport. The most important thing that you have to have in mind is that they are normal citizens, normal persons that have the same enjoyable moments, the same necessities, the same dreams, the same needs to do whatever sport they want to, their choice, of course. And you, as a coach, as a professor, as a technique on each area or each sport, you'll just have to adapt yourselves, not only them, but also you will have to adapt yourselves to the main practice that they want to have. So when we talk about having persons with disability in our sports, we have two major points to discuss. One of the point has to have implications on the adaptations that you have to do on the buildings, on the accessibility to bathrooms, on the accessibility to all the sport equipment that you use. You have to adapt it. Some need more adaptation than others, but that adaptation must be always not specific, but in general, so that you can use all of those equipment adaptations or the building or area adaptations to be used by plenty of different persons with different kinds of disability. And the second great point that has to be discussed between yourselves as techniques, as professors, as coaches, is precisely the social access that sometimes is not so easy to go forward, because you still have persons who don't accept persons with disability with this visual difference sometimes, and that main social specific situation is the main barrier that sometimes you coaches and the athletes encounter when they want to do some specific sport. Some sports, they are more easy to be practiced by persons with disability. Others are not so easy, but with some adaptation and some will from your part, I believe almost every sports can be done with the previous adaptations that they need, and there's no limits for these persons to do whatever sport they want. Just if they want to do it, they can do it. um, I sometimes it's more easy to give you images and to give you something for you to see. I'm not going to pass any kind of presentation. I have videos, and
Mhm.
sometimes videos with music and some sentence are more appealing and more obvious for you to understand what is this of sport with persons with disability, and also specifically the paracanoe world. And so if someone gives me opportunity to pass the videos, I will share the first. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just 1 minute.
You know how to start?
Yeah, I just have to do, and I just need one of you then to just give me some like this because of the
Okay.
sound.
Yeah.
Okay, first video. This is a video that will show you what is the EPC, the Paralympic movement concept. What is this of having all of this crowd and organizations and persons dwelling alongside this main master activity and that we have on sport all over the planet. So it's called Spirit in Motion, and I hope that you can. Oh, just 1 minute, not like this. Sorry. I will have to pass it with the sound, or else you don't hear it. 1 second. Okay.
Turning disabilities into abilities in over 6 decades, the Paralympic movement has challenged itself and the perception of the public. Never before has it been so all-encompassing, creating change in and outside of sport. From humble beginnings in Stoke Mandeville and Rome, the Paralympic movement has grown to develop elite competitions for athletes from different disability groups in 26 sports, both in summer and winter, increasing the number of athletes year by year, advancing to the next level of organization, setting new goals and standards with each Games, following a clear vision of the International Paralympic Committee, striving to break down walls of prejudice and discrimination, and changing perceptions by showcasing courage and determination to motivate and empower through sport. Today, the Paralympics are first and foremost about high-level competition, selling out venues, and fascinating with the best possible performances. They're also about achieving equality while pushing oneself beyond the limit. A never-ending and self-generating supply of passion, inspiration, and emotion.
But above all, when we come together, we will be part of the creation of an almost touchable and definitely breathable, distinctive energy source, which is at the heart of the Paralympic movement, and it's what we call the Paralympic spirit. You will see that we are all people of one world.
Of America, Chris
you get to see the best in people in the Paralympics. You get to see the possibilities for people with disabilities.
We don't think about disability, we think about sport, and I like it.
So it's all about that courage you have to do all this. Life is a marathon because it's up and down. And I always say that I lost my sight, but I never lost my vision.
Athletes with disabilities overcome challenge each and every day, but in a very real and visual, physical way that other people can find inspiration and motivation.
We can maximize our ability, and that's that's not specific to the disabled world, and I don't want the world to be seen as separate.
Mahakabis at kegiatan tahlil di kampus.
Maintaining the legacy that the pioneers started, Paralympic athletes are a force in the world for change. Their spirit in motion continues beyond the finishing line, so that others can follow in their footsteps, encountering fewer obstacles and experiencing their life-fulfilling potential.
Okay. This video, the spirit emotion, it gives the complete concept of what the Paralympics is. So the Paralympics are not just a couple of competitions that you have some athletes from all around the world competing against each other to see who goes to the gold medal or the silver or the bronze. It's more than a big festival of social inclusion, a big manifestation of social acceptation, and the major issue that we have on the sports for persons with disability, and that the Paralympics act as a has a logo, as a full image of it, is that all have a part on this major concept and vision that is sport. So we already have plenty of persons with disability doing sports. We already have coaches and staff that have a disability, and they already are working with persons with disability on the competitions and all kind of sport for all actions. What we need now, and that's one of the major objectives that the Paralympic system and all the Paralympic committees all around the world are working in, and all the governments also, is to include the persons with disability as someone who leads. So we want to have a board of directions including persons with disability. We want to have a board of professors on universities that have any kind of disability to be inside of the major decisions, to give another perspective of what sports for all are for all the citizens around the world. So I don't have to have a disability to understand what is to compete or what is to work out with a disability, but a person that lives 24 hours with something like that, they have more upgrade, they have more knowledge, they have more experience, so they must have opportunity to be inside the decision point. So the main social concept that are all at this moment going out Europe and out all kind of countries that are trying to develop this social inclusion, is that the social inclusion concept is passing now to a term that we call full participation. And full participation in sport is precisely that, having persons with disability not only practicing the sports, but also coaching, also directing, and also giving the main issues and decisions around the organizations that work with sports specifically for persons with disability. At the same time, what we are trying to not engaging, but trying to change the philosophy in some countries, is that we do not need sports or clubs or entities that work specifically with persons with disability, and other entities that work with persons that do not have a disability. What we want is a social inclusion. What we want is a truly mix of it. So we want persons with disability training and working and socially having activity together with persons that do not have that disability, because this is the main sharing that the mankind has having for the last uh, I don't know, billion of years, because evolution does, and it occurs when we have difference inside our social means. So the disability itself is a way of us, mankind, us, to have a new evolution, a new sight matter, to understand what we want, what can we change, and what can we evolve to promote ourselves to a better equality lifetime all over our lives. So this is the main concept that I would like to share with you about sports with persons with disability. And now I think I could talk a bit specific about parasport. But if you think we should stop before for you to make any questions about parasport or something, I can wait, and we can talk a bit about what the video I showed and some of the words that I said, and then afterwards I can show the other videos that I have about paracanoe itself, and we can talk about the paracanoe specifically. But Tintin, you're the leader, so you will have to say if it's better for me to keep talking or just answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Ivo. So it's very excellent explanation. And actually, maybe in here, we want to know what is the basic concept when you do the exercise training for the Paralympic para for disability. Is it same with the normal athlete, or how when you got it difficulty? Sorry, this is my son.
I understand. Well, then it's best if we stop now for a bit and you do all the questions you have to, because I'm working with persons with disabilities and not lots of the other coaches that work at my side for some years. So we don't have a difference between working with persons with disability and not with any kind of disability. The thing is, each individual, all of any one of you, if you work with children's, you know that each kid has a different biological level of understanding and a different biological level of learning. So at the same age, you can have two different kids, one that learns motor skills more fast and more easy than another, and they are on the same mature age and the same biological age, but in terms of growing up, they can have differences. So sometimes we have to adapt whatever skills or whatever chores we have to give them on the sport basic level, so that we can help them to improve their performance and what on the task we handle to them. Working with persons with disability is the same that working without with a person without any kind of disability. We have to try to adapt the work. We have to try to adapt the time of working, the volume of the training, the intensity of the training accordingly with each athlete. For example, I work with plenty athletes that have caudal injury, spinal cord injury. So I know that they cannot have inside the boat, they cannot stay more than 1 hour doing an intensive practice, because they can have major issues with their backs and scars all over the lower body. So I know that 1 hour, 1 hour and 10 or 15 minutes, it's the top time for practice that they can do it in a row. So I have to adapt the train for them. I'm not saying that a guy that does not have a disability like them works 2 hours and he cannot work that 2 hours. Of course he can do that 2 hours of training, but he cannot do the 2 hours of training on a row. I will have to do, for example, 1 hour of training on the morning, and the rest of the training will have to be adapted to do another session during the afternoon. And this happens also when you go to the gym, or what kind of activity or chore you give to them. If you have a person that do bench press with lots of weight and he has strength to do that lots of weight, it will be different if you have an amputee guy that does not have both legs, and when he starts to do bench press laying down, he doesn't have the weight of the leg, so easily he will whoop, kaput, he will roll over the weight, so he cannot have that entire weight that another guy with legs work. So what can we do? I have to stuff him on the bench so he does not move. I have to use other kind of machinery to work the upper body, and not using the bench press, for example. So we have to adapt according to individually. But to me and to those who work with them daily, if you ask us, okay, is there a difference? No, there's no difference, because I, as a coach, that's my job. I have to adapt the training. I have to adapt the planification that I have to him for each athlete. I cannot do the same planification. If we're talking about top performant athletes like Norberto and Alex and Floriano, that are the main athletes that work with me, I cannot do the same training preparation for one and for the other. They have different skills, they have different kinds of work, they have different capacity, so I have to have different planifications. But if you go for a lower range of athletes, if you're talking about younger ones, if you're talking about a bigger group that is starting to work now, there are still no big difference between if they have disability or not. You just have to adapt to the kind of population or the kind of persons that you're going to receive. If you have some persons that have some intellectual disability, for example, you know that you cannot have an activity that lasts too long. You know that you cannot be in a too open space with them, because some will just run away, or they will do something that you don't want them to do. So you have to adapt what you want, the skills and the objectives that you have for each session, for each training, for example, according with the kind of persons that you are going to work with. So generally, Tintin, to me, there's no difference working with persons with disability or no disability. They're just persons. They're human beings. They're just like the others. Next question.
Yeah, I think this is have any someone raise hand. Wawan Suherman, I think it's from Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta, from other university. Okay, you can unmute yourself and you can ask him directly.
Yeah.
Wawan, are you there? So please turn on your camera. Turn on your camera. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. So he's the Mr. Mr. Wawan. Okay, please. You can ask unmute. Unmute. Still
Yeah.
not. Okay, that's good.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Titin.
Yes.
I have a question to Mr. Igor, right?
Ipo.
Iko. Okay.
Ipo.
You already mentioned about the physical training for disabled athlete, and we know that a disabled athlete is a unique personality, so we should have a special attention, special knowledge about the psychological aspect of this athlete. So what is a big challenge for the coach to motivate them when we want our athlete, our disabled athlete, to be a champion or to be reach high performance in the sport activity or in the games, for example.
Okay, Mr. Hawan, thank you. Actually, I do not like to divide the physically and the psychologistic side of the work with them, because I think they are both connected. But there's one thing that I learned all over this 22 years of working with persons with disability. They don't like to ask twice the same thing. So they like the same rights that any person wants and have. So if we give too much attention to their difficulties, I think they will, normally they kept a more, they started to be not so accurate to the sport because they tend to feel like, okay, they're treating me like a small guy, like a baby or like something. They want the same kind of treatment that any athlete has. So if they need psychological to work with them, they must have it like the others have. And if you ask me what is the main knowledge or the main issue that the coach has to have, well, first of all, a coach cannot be just a guy that gives practice and just gives some physical activity or announcement to them. It has to be a person that has some true connection with the second guy, with a third person, with a fourth person. It has to be someone that can work with group, with team, with pairing. I was in Japan in 2018, and at this time I'm working in a coach developer academy in Europe. And the coach developer is precisely a concept that has been developing by the international coaching for excellence all over the world. And a coach must have a knowledge that has to be more ample, more biggest than just the physical and the objective of competition or achieving goals at the physical level. He has to understand a more social intervention. He has to understand a more medical. He has to have more knowledge about medical issues according with persons with disability. He has to have a basic knowledge of how what kind of disabilities exist, how they appear, if it's a congenital thing, if it's something that comes from an accident, if it's something that comes from a disease. And he has to understand precisely how can I say in English, the past from where that person comes, because we know that some communities are more closed for the disability. They have more fear to show if they have persons with disability or what kind of disabilities they have on their community. Other communities, they are very open, and they understand that the most open you are and the most sharing of knowledge and of experience that you have with others, the most evolution step you can get forward. So a coach must have an open mind. That's the first issue, that the coach that works with persons with disability is to have an open mind. He has to be very open of what kind of disabilities he's going to have during the person that he receives. And at the same time, he has to understand that each individual comes to do sport not always with the notion that wants to have some performing issue or wants to win medals or wherever. Most of them come to do practice in sport because sport is a magnificent tool for social interaction. So most of them come to do sport just for that, to have social interaction with other persons, because sometimes they live on a social apart, and they are not so interactive with the rest of the persons around them. And sport itself is a magnificent tool for that interaction. So the coach has to have an open mind. The coach has to have knowledge about kinds of disability and some experience with others. And the coach has to understand that each person has its limits, but each person also has his own objectives and goals to achieve. So, like I said before, two persons with the same disability, both on a wheelchair, one of them has objectives to go to win a gold medal, like you professor was saying, and the other guy just wants to I just want to have fun. I just want to be here all day doing some kind of activity and having fun with my colleagues and have interactions. And these are interactions will give me opportunity for late at night, be invited to go for a dinner and to go out and have this social interaction. And I don't want to compete. So if a coach has that on his mind and understand that he's not just doing athletes, is giving information and trying to give better conditions for other humans to live their lives, uh, he will be a winner as a coach. I
Uh,
hope that I answered.
is it okay, Mr. Wawan? Is it answer your question? Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Wawan,
you.
for your time to join with us. And in here,
Tintin,
yeah, if we have
how you say obrigado? Thank you.
obrigado, obrigado.
No, how you say thank you? How you say
Matur
thank you?
nuwun.
Matur nun?
Nggih, matur
Matur nun.
nuwun.
Okay.
Leres pinter. So we have so many languages. So you can say obrigado is matur nuwun or terima kasih.
Okay, terima kasih. Okay.
Okay, and then
Obrigado is in Portuguese. Obrigado.
yeah, obrigado.
Obrigado. Yes.
Okay, and actually we have also question from in here have guys from, let me see, Africa, from Mr. Harrison Sirait. He's the coach in Special Olympic Indonesia. So
Okay.
Ina, also the disabled teacher in Tian Grahita, Jakarta. He say hello to you. And
Hello.
in here also have the founder of the activity with the difabel. So the community of difabel in Semarang City. He's Mrs. Noviana, and also his son, Mr. Trias. That the activity always contribute to disabled person. So I include also in there. And then here any question from Mr. Andi Sirada. You wanna ask him directly or I need to read your question? Andi Sirada. Okay, Andi Sirada is from UPN Veteran Jakarta. He asking about
Classification.
Yeah, classification
Okay.
of disabilities.
Okay.
And I think it's every criteria is different, right? How to train each one different. I think
Yeah.
you can answer first.
Okay. I could open here and share a file with you, but I can explain because it's not very heavy, the information. So internationally and on sport matters, after the first games on Stockholm, the medical board started to work and how we could classify athletes all around the world and on different sports. So in 1980 precisely, there was created a method of classification for athletes all around the world and accepted by the EPC, the International Paralympic Committee, and is based on a medical classification. So we have a major classification already established since 1980 by the by medical board on the EPC, and that classification is totally medically made. So after the first basic classification that has 8 kinds or 8 areas of disability, 8 different areas of disability. The sports, the national federations, and the national Paralympic committees started to talk with each other and said, okay, we have a general classification that is divided on 8 types of disability or areas of disability. And the World Health Organization was one of the organizations that were also in this classification method creation. And then each sport has a specific classification for its own performance. So For example, if we are doing some kind of classification of disability, a person has a medically classification of spinal injury, a cord spinal injury. Okay, so he's put it precisely in that kind of category. But once he goes to practice and to be classified on the specific sport, for example, paracanoe, that is my specific sport at this moment, there are 3 different levels for persons with spinal injury to be classified. So accordingly, with the level of lesion that they have on their spinal cord, they can be on level 1, level 2, or level 3. Now, Mr. Andy, perhaps he wants for me to explain how is this classification made. It depends on each sport. The classification done by the medical ones, by the medical board that has the 8 categories, is based on medical reports. It's a very medical thing, so only medics normally do this kind of classification. For example, when I do classifications on Portugal, I have a medical that I appointed her as chief of classification staff, because she's a medical, and I decide, okay, you're going to be chief. She does the classification on medical reports. So I don't want to know anything about that because I'm not a medic. So after I have that classification, I just grab the athlete and I put him on first on a room where I have a physiologist who does all kind of battery tests to them to see what kind of strength he or she has on the upper body, on the lower body, what kind of balance the person has, if he's seated or not, what kind of articulatory bound stand mobility she has all over the body. And that's the second part, or the second kind of classification that the person goes, protocol of classification that the person goes. And after that second classification, the person goes to water inside their boat, the kayak or the vaha. And then I has a technique, a specific technique on the paracanoe. I do my classification. I have a battery test with all kinds of items that I do the evaluation to see if she goes front with the boat and she has strength to not falling forward. If she uses a belt, she or he, it depends, the person uses a belt not to fall. If the person has balance not to fall from the boat, how does the person does the short to the boat and does the paddling technique? If she has a totally rotation of the torso, so she has a balance to be on the upper level, she doesn't do the rotation of the torso, she has to be on the lower level. So there are 3 kinds of process to do this kind of classification. But the first issue for classification is the medical one, is a classification that is okay for all sports. It's the beginning of the classification, and that method is from 1918, like I said, and it has not been changed since that. For each sport, and you know that we have all kind of evolutions things with materials and with technique on training and everything. The classification that is done in each sport sometimes are changed. The batteries of items that we do the check to see what level we should put the athlete, they change from normally it's a Paralympic cycle. Every 4 years, all the items are reviewed to see if some items should be changed or should have more items on the battery, because we still have some athletes that have a classification and you see that it could be upper or it could be lower, and sometimes it's not. It has to be a 4 and it has to be reviewed all over the years. I hope that I answer it the best.
Yeah, that is very clear. So first, you must see the medical record first for the basic, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, you can do the program that you wanted to, your plan, based on the medical records.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some have the physiological, inside the room, on the table, doing all the articulatory things, and then go to the sport. Some go directly to the sport. It depends.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ivo. And then this is have any question from?
There's another one.
Yeah, Habibi.
Yeah, Bibi. Okay.
Habibi is from Unisma about the planning, pre-session planning for the developer. Maybe you can explain in your experience, because you have the canoe athlete, right? Maybe you can show how you do the training for your athlete and about the pre-session.
Okay. Well, I think the question that Habibi is asking here is if what kind of periodization I do for 1 year, and if is it different from a periodization with a person that does not has a disability. Well, the first question that you did, Tantan, if there was difference for me, there's no difference for me. So the preparation or the period that I have of preparation for an athlete with disability or a non-disability athlete for me is the same. I just have to adapt it to the athlete itself. Now, Habibi is asking me about 1 year of preparation for a multi-event tournament, for example. Well, I work on a basic Paralympic system. So to me, as a coach and a former, I also do preparation lifetime athletes since beginning ages to grown-ups. So to me, to have an athlete for top level, for top performance, I need at least 1 decade of work. I need at least 10 years of work to have a top athlete. For example, Norberto, my main athlete, that is vice world champion and European champion, and is going to Tokyo now to try the medal. He's working with me for about 11 years. So he's on the top time of work to have that performance levels and achievement goals. So I cannot prepare an athlete for 1 year. If it's an athlete that already has a background, that already is working for some time, has volume of training, has good performance background, okay, I can work with him for 1 year and to try to have more performance goals with them. But if it's a beginning athlete that has no background, 1 year to me, it's very, very few time to work with. But I have to small this preparation. So I cannot prepare 10 years, a periodization of 10 years, or I would not have space on the computer or in my room to have all the chores on the walls. I do 4 years preparation plan. So I have a plan that has 4 years of preparation. That is precisely the 4 years of a Paralympic cycle. I have the first year that is a year of rest and adaptation. The 3 months after the games, they have rest period. The next 3 months, they have an adaptation period. And then they start to have the next 6 months of the first year, a pre-preparation competition system. So they have very few competitions all over that first year, very few, normally some national competitions, and let's say 1, 2 top international competitions. But I'm not looking to have any kind of medals, any kind of top goals with them. They just need to go to that competitions, the nationals and the internationals, just to see how they are feeling and how the recovery are being done since the last period of games. The second year and the third year, these are very important years where we start to have more volume and more intensity work with them. These are the 2 top years where I really, really put them on the top issue with lots of strength and lots of very difficult trainings, because these are the 2 years that we have to have the best and the worst, if you want to say, the worst exercise and training chore, so that then the the fourth year, the last year, they can have just a competition issue preparation, just lots of technique, just lots of competition issues, just lots of interaction with other athletes, with other competitors, not enemies, but competitors. So these are the main 4 years of work that I do on planning. But in each year, I have to divide the year itself. Okay. So I divide the year on four major tapping periods. One period of adaptation, the beginning of it, one period of preparation where we have lots of physical and volume work, a period of specific preparation where we have lots of yet specific training and volume and intensity, but very specific for the sport. On the preparation period, general preparation period, I have more other kinds of chores, lots of gym, lots of swimming. Some can do hand cycling, some can do CrossFit exercise, some go and play tennis on their wheelchair, whatever they want. When we come to the specific preparation, the main training is on the kayak or the canoe, because that is the main core that they have for their activity. And then when you come to the last period, that is precisely the competition period. And on that competition period, the chores are very directed for the objectives of the competition. What I'm saying with this is, if my athlete is working for the 200 meters on K1, he's not going to do chores of 1000 meters, or he's not going to do chores of 4 or 5 minutes just because I want him. He has to work specifically for the chore of the 200 meters. It doesn't mean that I don't do 220 meters chores just to work the resistance. It doesn't mean that I don't do 50 meters chores, 10 meters chores, but the specifically of the training has to be aimed for the competition that he's going to do for the 200 meters, for example. So this is how I do my planning. Oh, one very important thing. When we are working with athletes of high performance level, we are not, I hope that you understand the expression that I'm going to say. We as coaches, we are not gods. So we don't know everything. Specifically, every training that I work with my athletes, and specifically Norberto, every train I prepare, every planification I do for a week, I sit with them before and I ask him, okay, Norberto, we are going to do this, this, and this. Can you give me some feedback about what you think could be better for you? And sometimes he says to me, Ivo, I don't need so much rest time between the series. You can take not 4 minutes, just 3 minutes is enough for me. Okay, we're going to take that off. And after the training, each day I sit around with them. Okay, what did you felt about the training? I have a GPS. He has a GPS for training, cardio, and he also has an application on the phone that he goes to the boat. And on real time, I'm outside, and on my phone, on my computer, I can see the velocity. I can see his earthquake. I can see the number of paddles that he's doing, the velocity that he has on the boat. I can see everything. So I know on the time that he's doing that 200 series, if he's doing precisely what I ask him to do. And after the training, I go with the computer to him when he's on the resting time, and I open my computer, I show him everything. I say, okay, you see here, we were on the top velocity peak of 16 kilometers per hour, and you should have been on just 15, because on the end of the 200, you went above below the 4 kilometers per hour, and you shouldn't been above the 14.5 kilometers per hour, for example. And then he gives me feedbacks again. Okay, Ivo, maybe the 3 minutes that I said it would be enough for me, it wasn't enough for me. So next time we do this kind of practice, I think we should do the 4 minutes like you asked. So the best way for us to have a top performance athlete, an elite top performance athlete, and to dream to have gold medals, for example, is to talk with the athlete and gave him opportunity to give us as coaches feedback of what he's feeling underwater. Because even with the GPS, with the clocks and everything, the human machine is very specific for each one. And if our athletes can give us the feedback of what he's feeling during the chore, it is better for us to improve and to do something better for the next practice session. Now I'm done, Tintin. Thank you.
Okay, that's good answer. So is it okay? Already answer your question, and in here have any someone raise hand? This is Mrs. Ariati Moore. Okay, now your time. You can ask him directly, Mrs. Ariati.
Okay, actually, rather than I ask, I see your topic is about exercise, and then he's mentioned about 10 years. He's planning for the top athlete to be on the Olympics. When I saw it, like I really want to eager to know if they have any TID test he used it or he created to have that kind of program, and then how to divide it, the 10 years program for to be achieved on the high athlete performance.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for the question. Well, this is not specifically. I have developed a more specific program of mine according with the athletes and the environment where I'm located. Of course, if I was in your country, for example, maybe I had a different scheme of work. But
right.
There is an international development program that I can send to Tintin, and she can disseminate to all of you. The Canada and Australia, for example, there were two countries that developed a program that they call LTAD, LTAD, Long-Term Athlete Development.
Okay.
It's a program that has a lifetime expand that since the beginning of age from 0 to 6 until you die. So they have specific stages since the beginning of life until you come to a competition age. And even after you come out of the competition age, you have a last station for keep on training. So you can do until you're elderly and you die. So this is a kind of program that doesn't work for 10 years. It's a program that you have for life. But inside of this program, you have plenty of concepts and plenty of studies that the point that to have top level athletes, you have to develop for about 10 years of work with this person so that they can go to the top main issue of level to have the top performance results.
Okay.
Is it okay, Mrs. Ariati?
Yes, thank you. But I really like to mention, because you said, because I have my friend who really want to try to have the assessment. So that's why I'm looking for more specific to see if you have something you already done, because I know from our environment we're looking for. Thank you very much, Ms. C.
Yeah, and as you know, Ms. Ifo, Mrs. Ariati is an lecturer in UNJ Sports Science, Jakarta. She is a former of Indonesian climber to Himalaya a few years ago. Wow. And then this is a question again from Mrs. Meta Christiana. She is my Sinbei. You know Sinbei, right? Sinbei. Yeah, she asking about, is there any specific education for disabled trainer? And then the second, how the parents or family to support if she have the disabled athlete, how to support them, because sometimes the disabled person usually lack motivation, how to make support them.
Okay. Well, this is one of the major issues that in Europe, where I live, we've been working for the last 10 years, 10 to 12 years. So 20 years ago in Portugal and all the other countries, not only in Portugal, but also in America and in other places, there were different clubs. You could do some basketball on a club, and if you had a wheelchair you had to go for a club where you had basketball wheelchair activities. The thing is, this issue of social inclusion that has been announced all over the world by the national organization, the World Health Organization, and other kind of international organizations that appeal to social inclusion, they ask that if we must be mixed all over all the organizations where we work in. So the international coach for council for coaching excellence, that is the major entity all over the world that works on coach degrees. They started to talk with the International Paralympic Committee and the International Olympic Committee, and also with the international federation, sports federations in each sport, and they tried to come up with a model that gave opportunity to all coaches that are starting to have their degrees on the sports to have basic information about disability. At the same time, universities all over the world also changed. For example, the university where I studied in 98, if I wanted to work with the persons with disability, I had to go to a course that was specifically working for persons with disability. And I said, no, I want to work with athletes. And if a person with disability appears to me, I want to know how to work with them. At this time now, the courses are mixed, so it makes more sense. What we had in Europe and all over the world now is that all the national federations are obliged to have some basic formal input to give to young coaches so that they can have basic knowledge to work with persons with disability. They don't have to be experts on that area when they started, but they have to be open minded to accept persons with disability and to understand that they have to learn and to read more about it, not just read about methodology of training and not to read more. They have to read also about disability because it's part of the process, of the continuing process of learning how to be a coach. So at this time, it is impossible, for example, in Europe, I can say in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, in South Africa, some of these countries, is impossible for you to have a coach course in any kind of sport and you don't have any kind of knowledge about persons with disabilities since the beginning. All sport federations are obliged to have this on the degrees that they have for coaches. And at the same time, on the universities, also the coaches, the teachers, and all kind of staffs that work on sport also already have a basic knowledge of working with persons with disability. Maybe they don't work directly with them, maybe they don't know how to, maybe they don't have experience, but they have the basic learning that already has been given to them. So I don't know how it works on the countries where all of the persons here live, but I believe that the International Paralympic the Paralympic Committee or the International Association for Disability Sports on your area, because we have different areas, they must have a kind of program for that. Because online, if you go to the EPC, the International Paralympic Committee site, you can find a program of learning for coaches. Coaches that don't have any kind of formation at this stage can apply themselves online, totally free. They can apply online to that EPC and learn online some knowledge, have more knowledge about working with persons with disability. And they talk about all kinds of disability. They talk about how you can do some intervention, how can you start, where can you read, how kind of contacts you can make to learn more and have more experience. So the knowledge is out there if you just want to learn, are open to. Okay.
Okay, thank you. It is already answered, Mrs. Mehta. And in the chat box, have any question again? Oh, you want Mrs. Atin and Mr. Huawei. Oh, Mrs. Siti Masaro, you want asking? Okay. You want to asking? Mr. No? Okay. So wait. Oh. Mrs. Mehta say thank you very much for your excellent answer. And this is have a question from Franz File Manihurup. Hello, my name is Franz File Manihurup. He asking about athlete with disability also given exercise program using training principle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the question is almost not the same, but almost the same from above. So the principles are the same. So if the period of the planning is the same for both kind of athletes, also the training principles are the same. You just have to adapt the chores and you just have to adapt what you want to do with the athletes. But the training principles, they keep the same.
Okay, thank you. And then this is you have greeting from Mr. Faisal Fazaz from Pakistan.
Yeah.
And okay, and from Mr. Huawei. What is your name? Maybe you can ask him directly.
Dr. Hamid Hala, from Iraq.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Hamid Hala. Salam.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
How are you,
fine,
everyone? I have one question here. How can to coach to put special program training in whether COVID-19 for special needs athletes to develop their skills and to develop and to effect for achievement for special needs athletes?
Okay. Dr. Amit, thank you. If everything goes well, I do not have yet the confirmation, but I'm going to receive an athlete from Iran here in Portugal, Islam. He also goes to the Paralympic game on Vaha canoe. He's coming to work for 1 month with me and one of my athletes from
Nice to meet you.
Yes, from Iran. Yes, he's coming here. So
I am from Iraq, sir.
Iraq, different. Iraq and Iran, different. Iraqi.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
No, Iran.
Iraq. I didn't read the Iraq in above. Sorry. Okay.
Because here I make one paper how to effect use kinesiotherapy for exercise for player special needs.
Okay.
Yes.
The COVID-19 brought us changes all over our lives. So, for example, I had to stop working with my athletes on the first year for about 2 months. And on the second year, now we also stopped for about 1 month. The thing is, I had to change the planification. So the time that they were going to have to rest after the competitions, they had to use that time during the period where they were closed on their homes. They did not stop training. They also always train anything, mobility things, some strength with their body, some flexibility. Some had ergometers on their home and they could do some works. But effectively, the 2 years or the almost 2 years and a half that we have been living with this COVID has changed a lot on our preparation as at not only on our lives, daily lives, day by day lives, but also on our preparation for competition at top level. But according with special needs, what we had in Portugal and Europe was that uh, people with special needs, specifically persons of intellectual impairment, they were the most affected ones because most of these persons with intellectual disability, they don't do the sport because they want to be more physically well. They do the sport because it's a kind of being with others, having their minds working with others, being social, being everything, being on the community activities and living and being having fun. And most of these persons had to stay at home. Most of these persons had to be closed up on their rooms, on their homes, and they lost this activity with others, with parents and with others, with other persons. So we launched a program in Portugal with an organization that is called FENACERCI. It's like a national federation that works only with associations with persons with disability, intellectual disability. And the Portuguese Federation started the program with them. So what we did was to low some of our ergometers, some of our kayak ergometers. We brought that kayak ergometers to their organizations, and they spare that kayak ergometers to their to the person that they were working at home. And for about 1 week, each one of these persons had possibility to use the ergometer, and then 1 week later pass the ergometer to another person. It was the best way that we had to give canoe and kayak activity to them. At the same time, we had what we are having here. So in our days, we do all kind of webinars, we do all kind of meetings online. So all of these persons received a small computer by the organization, and they had possibility to every day online being looking to the other guys that they know from the organization. And we even give some classes online, some activities, some mobility, just to be sharing with each other, just to be seeing with each other, just to have some tasty opportunity to talk and to be with each other on the computer level. Okay, but I know and I understand that in some countries, those that do not have all the possibilities to have a computer at home or to have, we understand that some were left apart and some didn't have the same opportunities. So I don't know if governments have to interact more with their citizens. I don't know if, for example, the Organization of Nations has to be more interactive on this kind of situations. But I understand, and that was one of the main issues and the main missed things that we had on this COVID was some countries did not have the same opportunities to have the continuous workout on sport.
Yes, make good answer.
Thank you, Lucian. Thank you for a good answer. All the best here. Thank you so much.
Salam. Thank you, Dr. Abid. Salam.
Salam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Salam. And you can also say salam.
Salam, yes.
Okay.
I think it's like that.
Any question again? Danny, you want to asking something? Yeah. Your eyes is want to asking something, but you are so shy.
Yes, someone here is asking my email. Tintin, you can give my email and my my social media to everyone. I don't have problem. My email I will write here.
I don't have your email actually. You not give me email.
You don't have my email. That's impossible. I'm going to. How can I say to everyone? I'm going to give. Okay, Ikendera. How can I send this to everyone? IQ Endera. My name. You see on yes. If you see on my image here, my name there. IQUENDIRA. Ikendera at Gmail. That's my email.
Okay.
It's simple. Okay.
Yeah, easy. Ikendera.
Ikendera. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Castopido also in here from Taipei. And Nefisa alumni.
Don't forget I have another video to pass.
Yeah. Where is your video?
Can I pass? Can I share the video here?
Yes, of course, please.
Okay. Then I'm going to share a video about paracanoe, just paracanoe, and some of the athletes that have been working with them. This video is from 2017. So some of these athletes still are working with me, but we also have new athletes working, but these are the ones that come on the video. The video has translation to English, so it's the same than the other, but you have letters to read if you want. I'm going to share the video, just 1 minute.
Okay.
على هالكرسي.
اوكي.
أنا حار هذا اليوم.
Oh, I see. This is in Facebook.
Contraí uma doença, não sei como, uma doença rara, que me fez ficar de cama.
Tive um acidente de viação com 16 anos, de moto sozinho, um despiste, em que me levou a ficar paraplégico.
Tive um tumor aos 6 anos de idade, na medula, que me afetou os nervos da perna esquerda e nessa altura fiquei sem força na perna. Posteriormente foi-me removido o tumor, com o crescimento consegui ganhar ainda alguma força, mas tive que usar uma ortótese para o resto da vida.
Nasci assim e gosto de ser assim, é isso.
Tive um acidente no dia 9/9/2009, um acidente de moto sozinho, quando vinha do trabalho para casa, no qual perdi as duas pernas logo no local do acidente, então tive de me fazer à vida.
São histórias como estas que nos conduzem ao contacto mais profundo da consciência e condição humanas. De um dia para o outro e devido às circunstâncias envolventes, viram-se confrontados para, com uma nova realidade, aceitar as suas deficiências e assim reconstruir as suas vidas. Foi no desporto da canoagem que encontraram o alento para seguir em frente. Mesmo sabendo que não seria uma tarefa fácil e que muito teriam de trabalhar para conseguir vencer. Hoje, alguns fazem parte da equipa nacional de paracanoagem, ou seja, canoagem para atletas com deficiências físicas. Norberto Mourão viu a sua vida tomar um rumo muito diferente quando, em setembro de 2009, sofreu um acidente de moto e ficou bem amputado dos membros inferiores. Rapidamente percebeu que parar não era a solução e desde logo procurou fortalecer os braços e tronco, algo que numa experiência de mergulho adaptado e para canoagem, um ano depois do trágico acidente, abriam os horizontes para com o mundo da canoagem, integrando agora a equipa nacional.
A canoagem acaba por ser a minha vida atualmente. Depois do acidente eu sabia que tinha de fortalecer os braços e encontrei isso através da canoagem, que me permitiu ter uma vida bastante preenchida e muito mais ativa do que era antigamente.
Hugo Miguel da Costa é um jovem de 17 anos que nasceu sem os membros inferiores. Não pertence à equipa nacional, mas encontrou na canoagem o desporto que carrega hoje no seu coração. Aceita bem a sua condição e, acima de tudo, é feliz.
Eu gosto imenso de canoagem, gosto de praticar canoagem. A canoagem está no meu coração. Gosto de convívio, gosto do ambiente, gosto de tudo imenso. Adoro imenso. Devemos sempre mostrar quem somos, não devemos de nos esconder, de ter medo do que é que as pessoas vão pensar. A pessoa é assim, tem que mostrar que é assim, tem que ser feliz assim e tem que ser feliz, simplesmente. Não há nada de mal sem ser assim.
Com 51 anos, Paulo Jorge Santos viu a sua vida mudar quando, já em plena fase adulta, lhe foi diagnosticada uma doença irreversível. Foi na canoagem que encontrou o seu escape e admite mesmo que este desporto é a melhor fisioterapia que pode ter. Mesmo com problemas de equilíbrio, é um dos membros da equipa nacional.
É como uma fisioterapia, é assim, é do melhorzinho que há. É muito bom, tanto a nível de saúde, como a nível psicológico, como a nível pessoal. É muito bom.
Floriano Jesus é o mais recente membro da equipa nacional de paracanoagem e tem 33 anos. Também num acidente de moto viu a sua mobilidade ficar reduzida. Hoje aprende a lidar com a paraplesia de que de um dia para o outro lhe alteraram o percurso da vida, mas que dentro de água até consegue esquecer.
Funciona como uma terapia, em que dentro da água somos praticamente todos iguais. E é um alívio, é um bem-estar dentro da água e fazer desporto, que é mesmo muita dedicação e muito empenho todos os dias a trabalhar para isto.
Nascido a 11 de maio de 1989, Francisco Cruz também integra a equipa nacional de paracanoagem. Desde cedo convive com uma ortótese, resultado de um tumor que teve aos 6 anos de idade.
Em termos de canoagem, é perfeito, porque na canoagem não há diferença nenhuma. Todas as pessoas que fazem canoagem sentam-se no barco e pagaiam que a pagaia, e isso torna todos os atletas iguais.
A inclusão, para além de ser um tema que tem sido muito debatido na estratégia europeia, é um processo que acontece gradualmente, com avanços e retrocessos, isto porque os seres humanos são de uma natureza complexa e com heranças antigas, têm preconceitos e diversas maneiras de entender o mundo. A ideia de que deficiência é diferença está incorreta, sendo que a aceitação da continuidade da vida e do que ela ainda poderá proporcionar é, nestes casos, o mais importante a ter em consideração, e é aqui justamente que a Federação Portuguesa de Canoagem entra, na medida em que proporciona a oportunidade a todos que queiram praticar este desporto.
A vida continua, isto é uma etapa pela qual eles passaram. E temos que ter esperança e temos que continuar, porque há muito ainda para dar e há muita coisa ainda para fazer.
A deficiência é uma circunstância e, portanto, relevo mais a questão do atleta em si, o facto da pessoa ser confrontada com uma diferença, que é disso que falamos, e não ter problemas na prática desportiva. Acho que só tem que ser enaltecido. É um exemplo que deve ser seguido por muitas outras pessoas com deficiência.
Sejam felizes.
Sorry. Okay. This is a video that you have some information about different kinds of disability. They are all motor disability persons, but different kind of disability, different casual situations that cause them to have their own disabilities. But at the same time, you can see that each of the activities, each of the tasks, the chores that I give them on the gym or in the water, they are all adapted and they can still keep training together. So I still have another video, but maybe I would pass it on the end. And if there's more questions about Paracanoe itself or anything, I don't know, Tintin, you're the leader.
Hi. Actually, in here we have Coach Cano. She is in medicine. Dr. Henny, you are there? Yeah, Dr. Henny is the one of medical in Kano. Medical team in Kano.
Okay.
Oh, where is he? Nali. Okay, maybe. Mr. Abdul Khalid. Okay, thank you. Oh, maybe you just go because in here the internet is sometimes not good.
Maybe you can text the question to you and you can make me the question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so maybe you just can go into the video, the next video you want to share with us.
Okay.
And then after that we question, answer, and then closing.
Okay, this is the last video I have for you. It's not translated to English because it's a very new video. It came off very shortly because we are almost having festivities for the 50 days for the Paralympic Games. So this video came out precisely to that event. So it has not been translated to English yet. But the most important of the video is not the messages, is the images, is the truly for you to understand what is the basic training, the effort, and the shows that Norberto normally does with me, and for you to see what is our normal day on the beginning of the morning till the end of the afternoon, because we started to train at about sometimes at 7 a.m., other times at 9 a.m. It depends. We just stop for lunch, and at 4 p.m. on the afternoon, we start again to have our practice until 7 to 8 p.m. So it's an entire day of training, and we do lots of activities but this is the basic training system that we have, the basic training activities that we do. So I'm going to share it. And once more, the music and the images, that's what I want you to see. Okay.
São 9h30, bom dia, 8h30 nos Açores.
Roberto, no treino. Roberto, 15 minutos PVC, depois temos um grande dia. Bora, ponta final, ponta final, ponta final!
São 9h30, bom dia, 8h30 nos Açores.
Trabalhamos sempre em equipa.
rumo a Tóquio 2020.
Okay, the main message of the video is that we work always as a team. Not only me and Norberto, but all the Paralympic committee, we work always as a team. And the last sentence that was above, when you saw the symbols of the Paralympic Games and the Tokyo Games, was that we are in our way, our path to Tokyo. So not more than 50 days to Tokyo Games, so we're almost there. Okay, no more videos, Tintin.
Sorry, unmute myself. Now, one more question from Castel Pido. You can ask him directly. Castel Pido, welcome. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening from Taipei. Yeah, I'm Gospel, and this is my questions. How they can measure if they are qualified in Paralympic Games? For example, one person is blind and the other one is they don't have feet, and then they will compete in canoe, or they can still play.
Okay. Yeah. It depends on the classification. Before that, after I passed the video about the spirit in motion, I talked. There were some questions about classification. So the classification about disability is based on a medical effort that was introduced in 1980 by a medical board. And there are 8 categories of classification that can be made by these persons for the disability and the impairment persons. So they're cataloged in these 8 groups. But after they have this catalogization, they have to be classified by sport classifiers. And those sport classifiers are different in each sport. For canoe, you have canoe classifiers. For basketball, you have basketball classifiers, and so go on. Some disabilities are not yet integrated in all sports. For example, if you know what is goalball?
Goalball.
Goalball. It's a game where blind play with a big ball to.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Pronto. Well, goalball. A person in wheelchair cannot play goalball. They are not classified to do goalball. At the same time, blind men, for example, they are also not classified to do shooting, for example.
Shooting.
So it depends on the type of the class of the disability and the sport itself. But once they are integrated in one of these 8 categories, they have to be classified for the sport. And in each sport, you have different levels. For example, you can have 4 to 5 levels for a person that is in a wheelchair. So you can have 5 persons that use a wheelchair, but can be in 5 different levels in a particular sport. So normally you don't have a blind man competing with a person with a wheelchair. They're different categories for the Paralympics, for example. Sometimes you have on countries that have few participants. Sometimes they are inserted in the same category just to do the competition. But if they go to specific competitions, for example, the Paralympics, they cannot be on the same classes. They have to be on different classes. So it depends on the type of sport. But when you talk about classification, is to put someone in a specific class for sport competition. If you talk about qualification is a different word. Qualification is to achieve the spot, the slot to go to the Paralympics. Well, Each sport has a number of quotas to be distributed by competitors to be on Tokyo, to be on the Paralympic Games. So it depends on the sport. For example, for the paracanoe, we had about 60 slots of 60 athletes for each gender, 60 men, 60 women, of course, to distribute for our different classification athletes. So we have two kind of boats. We have a vaha, it's like a canoe, and we have a kayak. And so we had to divide this 60, 30 to each side. And also the females also had 30 to each side. And then in each boat, you have three levels of classification. For the kayak, you have K from kayak, KL1, KL2, and KL3. And for the Vaha, you should have VL1, VL2, and VL3. But we do not have the VL1 for Paralympics. We just have the VL2 and VL3. This qualification for the games occurs during the 2 years before the games and specific competitions. For example, on World Championships, and for the first year on 2019, there were 6 quotas for each class. So only the 6 first athletes had the quota to go to Tokyo. My athlete, for example, was one of the first. He was second, so we had one of the quota to go to Tokyo. This year, 2021, because in 2020 there were no competitions because of the COVID, there were 4 quotas that were still missing. So during this year, the next 4 guys during the competition that did not win the quota before had the opportunity of having one of these 4 quotas. At this time, at this moment, the quotas for Tokyo and the para-canoe and the canoe, they are already closed. There's no possibility for anyone to do kayak or canoe competitions on Tokyo this game. But in some sports, I think that they are not still closed. For example, I don't know if in swimming and if in judo, it's already closed. I think that still are quotas that are doing, because they have a different kind of qualification. This by points, like the cycling also is by points. So they have a different qualification system. Okay.
Thank you so much. I'm satisfied for your answer. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining this lecture. And before we close, please turn on your camera and we can take picture together.
Oh.
Wait, I will give you just a certificate. Wait a minute. Mali. Here. So, I'm sorry. Is it correct? Your name, Ifoquendra? Wrong? You can see. Why is different?
I knew that.
Yeah. So, one record from the dean of our team.
It's okay. It's okay.
Dr. Tandio Rahayu. Thank you very much for your excellent lecture tonight.
Thank you.
And in here also we have senior lecturer, Dr. Setio Rahayu. Hello, good evening, Mom.
Hello.
And
thank you, Mr. Team.
Yeah, my senior, also my supervisor when I was studying in undergraduate.
Thank you.
In here, thank you, senior lecturer, Mr. Wawan Suherman from UNJ and Mrs. Arya Timur. Thank you, Mr. Habib.
Tahu tuh sekian Muhammadiyah. Bukan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief.
Yeah, Horizon Sirait, thank you very much. Also, Mr. Abdul Khalid. And from other country, thank you, Mr. Faisal Faizaz from Pakistan and Mr. Hamid from Iraq. And thank you for all participants for contribute in.
Thank you very much for inviting in a very short time.
Thank you so much, Sentin.
Yeah. So can we take picture together? Please turn on your camera.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coach Ivo.
Yeah, please turn on your camera and we take picture together. In here also have a Mississippi Baito, my senior lecturer, and also have my ex-student, Andre Yugaswara and Sofyan. Okay. Please turn on your camera. I will take first slide. These are sun, cheese.
Cheese.
Yeah, buncis.
Cheese. Cheese.
Wait. I don't know. I'm in here. Number second. Oh, wait a minute. Too much activity. Taisa. Okay, second slide. Cheese. Oh, this
Cheese.
people. Thank you. Cheese. Third slide. Okay. Oh, third slide. No one turn on camera. What happened?
I'm turning.
Sleeping.
Why?
Ketawa terus nih.
Flying.
On.
I don't know why.
Thank you, Miss Titin and Coach Ivo. Also, Buyayu.
Yeah.
Thank you. May I left on this occasion. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Terima kasih,
Miss
Tintin.
Titin.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nes.
Terus nuwun Prof kawan, selalu.
Sami-sami.
Selalu Prof.
Mas Andre.
Titin, matur
Thank you
nuwun.
semuanya. I will see you the next webinar.
Obrigado.
Syukran.
مع السلامة. مع السلامة.
谢谢。
Bisa dikaryati sia-sia.
Ya, terima kasih Mrs. Aryati selalu ikut program.
Matur suwun ya Mbak Titin.
Sami-sami. Do you know what this mean matur suwun, Iku Indra?
What?
Do you know what this mean matur suwun?
No.
Matur suwun is thank you.
Obrigado.
Obrigado, okay.
Obrigado.
Thank you.
Matur sakalangkong.
Okay.
Obrigado.
In Japanese, arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato gozaimasu, yes.
Yep.
So you want going to Japan this
Yes.
September?
On the beginning of August, I'll be there about 1 month. So
Tokyo?
No, I will be on Kanoya. No, sorry.
Kanoya.
No, Kanoya, it was where we were. It will be Komatoshi. It will be on north of Japan. I will be training with the Japanese national team also, because I have good relation with Izumi Honda, that is a national coach. And he invited us to have a training camp for 1 month there before the competition. And as you already know, I've been to Japan several times. I have a passion thing for Japan, so I will be there for a month before Tokyo, and then we'll have the competitions.
Okay, thank you very much, Ivo Sensei. It's very excellent presentation and it's very good experience. So we study so many things in here, and thank you. So have a good day in your time, right?
Yes, thank you.
What time is it now? Right now in there.
Thank you for the invitation. Good luck to everyone, and nice good evening, because here it's late, it's afternoon.
Good
and I know
afternoon, yeah.
It's late in the evening. So have a good evening to every one of you.
Thank you, Coach. Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya.
Sugeng dalu.
Sugeng dalu.
Punika kula
Piyambakan.
Matur suwun. Ya, link sertifikatnya ada yang kesulitan untuk link sertifikatnya. Silahkan.
Biasanya kula butin sing kesulitan biasanya butin.
Tinggal diisi piyambak, Pak.
Lagi.
Nggih.
Mungkin bila kesulitan menghubungi jenengan malih nggih.
Matur suwun.
Terima kasih
Assalamualaikum.
Mbak Titin.
Waalaikumsalam.
Salam kenal Mbak Titin.
Nggih, matur suwun Bu Luciana atas telepon. Pak Harrison Sirait.
Iya, halo Mbak
Nanti
Titin.
bisa kontak via chat.
Boleh. Saya udah kirim nomor ponsel saya.
Di mana?
Di chat situ tadi. Ngajar mata kuliah apa Mbak Titin?
Fisiologi, olahraga adaptif, sama injury.
Oh, saya punya semua bukunya.
Aduh, maaf ini mulai agak rame sedikit ini di rumah.
Gak.
Izin live, Prof. Sterayu, Bu Titin, para senior, Tanten, Bu Baitul. Assalamualaikum.
Selalu sukses ya semuanya.
Amin,
ya.
amin.
Selamat
Bu.
malam.
Matur suwun tadi yang dari rumah difabel sudah ikut hadir. Semoga sehat ya, Bunda
Amin.
dan putranya.
Oke, Bu. Terima kasih.
Kesehatan. Jangan lupa tidur ya. Jangan begadang terus. Monggo, niki kula pejai apa ki bahasa Indonesia. Saya tutup ya. Terima kasih.
Close the door.
Dalam?
Terima kasih.
Nggih, matur suwun Bu Setyo. Bu Baitul, matur suwun Eva.
Nggih, sama-sama.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Nanti close.